A review of the Harbor Freight drafting machine. That is the part number. I think it's like $40 or $42. And it is not the best quality. If you're a professional, it's certainly something you don't want. But if you're doing a few drawings every so often, it's fine, provided you do the modifications that I've done and it makes it usable. There's the view. It's on a standard drafting table, a 3-foot long by 2-foot drafting table which tilts. Let me show you some of the things I do to make it usable. One of the first things you're supposed to do is you're supposed to mount this assembly right in this area here. And I didn't want to do that because it eats up the table. It makes your workspace for drawing smaller. So I moved it off the table. And that seemed to give me a little more room on the table. The other thing that I noticed is this mechanism here that keeps the arms parallel is supposed to be clamped using these two plastic with the thumb screws and these two plastic brackets here and the other one here. Well, no matter how tight you get it, if you just clamp it to the thickness of the table right here, it's not thick enough. The table's not thick enough because these aren't threaded enough. So, in fact, what I did was, in addition to mounting it off table, I added extra thickness because I had to make up the difference. So this is the same surface as the table, which gave me extra thickness, and I was able to clamp it down. One of the problems I had in clamping it down was no matter how tight you put it, and these are the L brackets. The L brackets go this way and they go inside. Well, when you start tightening these plastic clamps up, two things occur. You distort the clamp, and this L bracket starts to walk out of the hole. So to prevent that, I put the L bracket into the hole. It's a round L. And then I put a piece of brass rod. There's extra holes for different mounting positions, but when I put the L pin into here, I put a piece of brass bar stock, and there's a space for it, and that locks this guy so he can't pull out that way. He can't pull out this direction. This guy locks it in. I did that in both planes. I did it for that one, and you can see better here. This one goes this way, and it goes in that way, and this guy goes up like this, so this guy can't walk out. He can't come out this direction, and that pins it. And then in addition to, after I tightened it, I ended up putting screws on the back side, and I'll show you the screws. There's the two screws, and those screws stop this plastic piece from moving around. When you move this whole assembly to, for drawing purposes, these plastic clamps skid around on the back side, so by screwing it in, it stops that from happening. So that made a big difference there. Another problem I noticed is after you mounted it, this surface here was not flush against the table. It was not parallel to the table. It was actually higher on this end than this end. So I ended up putting a spacer in here to offset the rules. So I spaced it up here about 1/8 of an inch. There's a shim in there. This is flush, and this is 1/8 inch flush. What it did was it cocked the whole assembly. So, in fact, now this surface is parallel and flush to this table. One other thing I did notice on the moving it around was I got in the position where, let me pick this up. I got in a position where when I was moving this up and down, when I move it from this position to this position here, this was rotating, and it shouldn't rotate, it should be parallel. What I noticed as I was moving this assembly up and down, this metal rod was sliding in and out of this plastic piece about 1/4 of an inch, and therefore it wasn't keeping true angle. So what I did was I put a little super glue right in this joint where this steel piece goes into the plastic piece, so that pinned it in place and it doesn't move around now. One of the other things I noticed was the rulers. They're not quite, they're not real stiff. They kind of flex. So I took a heat gun and I heated the ruler to put a bend in it this way to kind of cup it that way. So when I'm drawing, I just push down here and it pushes the ruler flat against it. Other than that, it seems like it's okay. I haven't tried drawing on it yet, but I just wanted to give you a review. You got to fool with it. There's no question about it. You got to spend at least an hour after you get it. Let me back up. You got to fool with it for about an hour to get all the bugs out of it. And we'll see how it goes. And that should do it.